Hello, designers. Did you like that little effect there? No, hello, designers. How are you? Today, I'm about to record and post this video going over our this week's coursework, which is looking towards the final of the unit on planes and the final pop-up assignment that you're going to be doing to kind of close out that unit. So I'm going to introduce it here and talk a little bit about turn-in. I'm not going to talk about critique or anything quite this week because that'll be for next week. But let me go ahead and get started by showing you the slides for this week. There we go. Okay, so these were posted yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and go through them with you now. So this is the Design 2 pop-up final. This is the final for the unit on planes and paper engineering. Remember, a plane is a object with height and width, or length and width, but minimal depth or minimal thickness. So think about a sheet of paper, a sheet of metal, anything that comes in like a sheet form. It's got height and width, or length and width, but when you turn it on its side, it's very thin. Now, a piece of paper does literally have thickness, but it's not very thick. It's very minimal. A plane is also used to refer to like the flat sides of an object. Even if the object does have depth and is solid, like if you break it down into flat surfaces, like a polygon, or like video game designers or something, those are also called planes. Okay. So, what's your final going to look like? What's this pop-up final going to be? You are going to make a pop-up card or brochure about your favorite food or hobby. Yeah, so you're going to choose favorite food or hobby. You can think of it as a greeting card or info pamphlet about the subject you choose, but make sure you follow the theme with the pop-up mechanisms. I don't want it to just be a book like, oh, hey, I like hamburgers, and then a bunch of random shapes pop up. I want the pop-ups to be related to hamburgers, French fries, whatever, like if that's your favorite food. So, yeah, make sure the mechanisms follow that theme. Make the card 8.5 by 5.5 when closed. Why did I pick that specifically? Well, basically because if you take a 8.5 by 5.5 sheet of cardstock and fold it in half hamburger style, like, it's going to be a card of a fairly rectangular shape, not a long, narrow card, but a more like traditional shape. That's just that one sheet of cardstock folded in half. And when it's folded, it'll be 8.5 by 5.5 inches. And that's when it's closed. When you open it back up, it'll be obviously, again, 11 by 8.5. 8.5 by 11, yeah. Regular sheet of cardstock folded in half. To be your card. Folded in half and then opened. Make sure, you realize when I say folded in half, that's when it's closed. Yeah. Anyway, the front and the back of your card do have to be decorated. They need to introduce the idea. They need to say, hey, what's up, whatever. And then the back needs to basically probably have like your name or like a goodbye message, something. They need to be addressed. They need to be decorated. The design must be in 3 dimensions when open. Okay, so that does mean you can add little pop-up elements and things to the front or the back, but the big thing is that the inside needs to have 3-dimensional elements that are true pop-ups when it is open all the way, 180 degrees. So yeah, let me walk through. There's some examples there of like simple objects. Also notice on these, the number of pieces that are just like cut out pieces of paper that are added to show a little bit of extra depth, but they're not really pop-ups. They're like decorative elements. That's kind of something I'll expect you to play with a little bit. But yeah, looking at the exact requirements, let me go over those. You need 3 to 4 pop-up mechanisms that are 3D or movable when the card is open. One piece may be a counterfold or a 90-degree pop-up if it is added to another pop-up scutter. So one of your 3 or 4 can be a counterfold. Like honestly, this little hammock thing in this picture here, this is actually an example that a former student did. This little hammock is really kind of just a 90-degree fold. And that's something to consider. Like you can do that. You can make a counterfold pop-up. You can actually make literally a whole pop-up card within your pop-up. That's kind of a cool thing to do. But in any case, 3 to 4 true pop-up mechanisms. Also note, this is really important, it is not a true pop-up mechanism if it does not cross the gutter. If your pop-up mechanism does not cross the gutter, I will not count it as a pop-up. Then it's just a thing stuck on the piece of paper. Okay, it needs to be a mechanism that moves and opens as you open it. When I talk about movable pop-ups, that's the thing. If some of you did some research, there's like spinning, like you can do pull tabs and have different things that you can interact with. Those are cool. They're fine with me, and they, are considered true pop-ups. But for the most part, you just really need to make sure and focus on the idea that you open it, it pops up, it crosses the gutter, it's in 3D. Okay, at least two other inside decorative elements must also be added. Okay, like a drawing that you actually draw onto the surface, although I actually think it just is way better if you draw it separate and then cut it out and stick it to it. And make sure these decorations are relevant. So yeah, do a drawing or a cutout of a relevant shape. Again, maybe your pop-up of a hamburger is a great big hamburger table with, pop-ups that are all the lettuce and mayonnaise, whatever, I don't know. And then like there's some French fries that are just cut out and stuck on to be decorative elements. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. Just something to fill it up, make it look nice. And what else? You must also be able to close at least fairly closely without crushing the pop-ups. Basically, you need to be able to close the pop-up, and it fits into the little card shape, and it looks nice and clean. Don't crush the pop-ups. That's like a big no-no. It has to be able to close, and then ideally, you won't have any pop-ups sticking out into space outside of that card. If there are a little bit, I'm not like a real stickler for them not being able to stick out, but the big thing is they can't be crushed when you go to close them. It needs to close, okay? And just so you know, that will be part of the turn-in. You're going to make a video, of course, that shows you opening and closing and showing me the front and back of the piece so that I can see that nothing is being crushed. It's fairly closed. I understand sometimes the thickness of the paper and stuff, it may not close totally flat, but as long as it's close, nothing's sticking out ideally, and then nothing is crushed and the front and back are decorated, you're good. It needs to be in color. I don't really want to just see a bunch of like blank background. Obviously this student here, there's a lot of blank background, but she addressed that by just putting in some shapes of color to like break it up and show different things. It's pretty cool. Hers is a pretty complex pop-up here. Really, she's got far more than 3 pop-ups happening, but yeah, it's going well. Notice that they are decorated and kind of addressed before assembly, most likely. Most likely she didn't draw on these spokes before putting the tire in and all that stuff. This hammock was literally like made out of a little string with like little pieces stuck on it. It was pretty impressive work, but think about putting all that together before you pop it in. And it needs to be in color. You can use marker, you can use colored pencil or paper, or you can use paint. A big good idea, I think, personally, is to use colored cardstock, which you can get at Walmart. I think it's a little bit lighter weight, which could be used to your advantage, but that may be better. But some of you, like I've seen really great pop-ups that if you're a good drawer or draftsman, or you just have like a nice illustrative style, if you're a really good illustrator, that's great. And you can use watercolor. Watercolor's a good one, paint, markers, whatever. But do note that it may warp and affect the paper. That's something to keep in mind. I'll talk about that again in the next slide, the tips slide. But yeah, and then remember it's got to be 8.8 or 8.5 by 5.5 when closed. It's got to be in 3D, all that stuff. Just trying to make sure I've covered all the requirements. Supplies will be the same as the practice pop-ups, obviously, unless you're getting colored paper or some extra little element that's decorative. Just something to think about. Real quick, before I get to the tips on the final, make sure you get a sketch done by Thursday at midnight. It may be one day, this may be 2 days, but it's a fairly quick turnaround depending on when I post this video. But yeah, this you have to get a sketch done. You have to get a plan done ASAP so that you have about a week to work on this if you get this sketch done as soon as possible. And a week is, you can definitely get this project done in a week if you plan for it accurately and manage your time. But your sketch must include designs for the front and back. It must include a plan for the decorative elements, a plan for which pop-ups you're going to use, a plan for which colors you're going to use, and what kind of drawings you're going to have. Drawings or cutouts you're going to have. You have to have all that in the sketch, kind of sketch like it's a 3D sculpture, right? Make a plan, make a sketch. You're going to post it. This is already on Canvas or going to be on Canvas so that you can turn in a photo of this sketch by the due date, which is going to be very fast. Due this Thursday at midnight. Yeah. So, sorry, I just realized I was using all diplomatic vague language to say, you know, in case I could use this video in another semester. But now I realize it says Thursday on there. So yeah, it's due tomorrow at midnight. Just get it done as soon as possible. Have all the designs. Email me if you have questions about that sketch. But get it done so you have the full week to do your practice. Now I can just ditch being vague. I'll just have to remake the video in other semesters. That's okay. Anyway, here's some tips for your pop-up. Think about decorating cutouts, decorating your pop-ups, decorating all the parts before you assemble. You know, think about adding color and cutting edges all before you put it together. One good idea, I think, is to make your pop-up mechanism, you know, a nice sturdy shape that's sort of simple, and then make cutouts that are going to sit on top of that pop-up. A lot of times your actual pop-up doesn't have to be decorated or actually cut out in the perfect shape, so you can just have things added. But either way, make a plan. If your pop-up is, especially if your pop-up is actually going to be decorated, the actual mechanism, you know, make a plan for that. You can make mechanisms and add decorations to them. Oh, that's what I just said. Yeah. But just think about it. Think about when your order of assembly versus decoration. Think about getting color cardstock. Already kind of reiterated that. I think it's a great idea. Although, like I said, if you want to color your own pieces, do your own drawings, that's great. But make sure any drawings are clean and well colored. You wouldn't want to basically, you know, make some really awesome pop-up and do a super great job and then have it not look that great because you rushed the drawing and decorating step, okay? So make sure that that is good. Make cutouts well detailed with edges and shapes. Don't make just a random square and then draw a cat on it. If you can cut out the shape of a cat, that's what you need to do. Basically, that's what this little image is, and I'm trying to tell you not to do. Do not just like add little mechanisms, pop a square on there, and then draw a cat on it, or draw a burger. I guess, yeah, a cat would be if you're into walking cats or something. Look. But don't just draw a burger on it. Make the cutout the shape of the burger. You know, you're a paper engineer. You're not just like an artist, like, you know, slap it on an image in the aftermath, right? Make sure the edges are cut out, detailed. Make sure the drawings are clean. Make it sturdy. You know, when you go to open it for the video, you really don't want it falling apart, right? You want to be sure it's not crushing things. Make sure, or, you know, things aren't getting crushed. Make sure things aren't tearing, and make sure things are at least going to last for you to show me your project. You know, I know the glues kind of have different effects. I had pretty good luck with the stick glue if you get a good stick glue. But yeah, just make sure it lasts at least long enough to get through this project / semester. But yeah, make it sturdy. And also, again, remember, color media, like even if you use colored pencils hard enough, or if you add a bunch of oil pastel, add a bunch of watercolor or ink or something like that, it's going to possibly affect the paper's strength. It's going to possibly warp it. It's going to have some issues. Okay, so think about that. And then the last tip is, as long as things are in 3D and pop up, I am cool with you taking some artistic liberties, like multiple pages, changing the shape of the card. I guess, yeah, that's just a disclaimer of like, you know, think about what I didn't say you couldn't do, right? That double negative. If you can do it and everything's in 3D, everything's a pop-up, I don't want you to take artistic liberties and try to like get around it and not really be making a true pop-up. But if your artistic liberties are doing things like on this one, you know, where this person did triangle card. They did a triangle card instead of a rectangular one. Now, I will say they made sure that it's not too small. you're not going to be able to make it much smaller than 8.5 by 5.5 to fit in all the mechanisms and decorations and stuff I want. But at the end of the day, changing the shape or something can be an interesting way of changing it up, as long as it still fulfills the other parts of the assignment. Multiple pages is a good way. If you've got some really awesome mechanism you want to do that you're just going to nail, you think it's going to be great, but it's one mechanism and it's huge, you might have to have a second page to have your other mechanisms and decorations in it. Just think about that. Moving parts require multiple layers. You have to have a double layer card to do pull tabs and stuff sometimes. Think about that. You have to basically make the card that controls the pop-ups, and then you need to slap a card on the outside of that that's like a cover and hides those sliding mechanisms and tabs and things. Just think about that. Pull tabs have to be covered. And if you have a sliding wheel, like a moving part, that you have to be able to hide that inside of a multiple layer object. And then a lot of times you have to have something to hold that wheel in there, so that may even require another layer. I don't know. Just think about, to get to the end result, I'm open to you kind of adding in some new rules or changing the rules a little bit, as long as everything gets done right. Okay, that's enough of that. Last thing. Oh yeah, it's due at the end of next week. It is due next Thursday. So really, if you started today, if you got your sketch done today and started tomorrow, you'd have a little over a week actually to get this done. This is a nice piece. It's decorated. It's nice. It's a good example of they didn't add a ton of extra decorative elements. I don't think there's quite enough on the inside of this example here. But the butterflies have this nice, they kind of pop up. They're like a glitter paper with a thin little sheet of poster board or something in between it and the regular surface. So it pops up a little. The flowers look nice. They're well decorated. They are actually decorated pop-ups. There's multiple of them. But yeah, it may be, I think it's kind of okay that there are a lot of the same pop-up, because adding it in and figuring out how to layer it so they still work is cool with me. But the problem with this one is just there's a little too much empty space. But overall, yeah, just let me know if you have any other questions. Exact date is on Canvas. Let me go ahead and close this, stop sharing, and then I will share really briefly. This is the assignment posted on Canvas. Yeah, favorite hobby or food. It's all the same requirements. The front and back have to be decorated. Must be 3 dimensions when open. 3 to 4 pop-ups. 2 decorative elements. Needs to be at least close to closed without crushing pop-ups, without having things stick out. Needs to be in color. Real quick, let me reiterate. If pop-ups don't cross the gutter, I will not count them as pop-ups. Okay? Be sure you remember to do the sketch and turn in the sketch to that other Canvas assignment. The examples and tips, basically the slides I just showed you are here attached to it. For turn-in, you're going to post 3 pictures, front, inside, and back. 3 static pictures posted. Make sure, look at the slides over, good photographing of 3D work, all that stuff. Get 3 good photos, then take a video with a good neutral background, and you can have your hands in. I don't mind if you want to narrate or talk or anything. Just play some music. I don't know, or just nothing. Whatever. But you're going to show me the front. You're going to open it, move any moving parts that you need to move. Then you're going to close it. You're going to show me the back. Show me all the things. Show me that it's clean. You're going to post that video and the 3 photos by midnight on March 10th. Okay? If the video doesn't show opening and closing, I will not give full credit for the turn-in. I feel like Michael Scott saying, if it doesn't come with rent, I don't know. It's the Office joke. Anyway, if it doesn't show opening and closing, I will not give full credit. Look out for the reflection on this project to be posted the day it is due, and possibly a critique. I'll talk about critique next week. Oh, and also, so far, there's not a rubric attached to this because I have to make the rubric, but I will let you know that essentially my rubrics work where this is what's going to be in the rubric. These little expectations here, these little bullet points. Did you include mechanisms? Did you include decoration? Does it close closely? All that kind of stuff. That will all be in the rubric, and I guess, Yeah, did you show me that it was open and closed? That's why, if you don't show me that it opens and closes, I'm not going to give you credit for that section of the rubric because I need to see that it closes without crushing things. Did you do it in color? Blah, blah, blah. Is it 3D? And then, of course, my rubrics every time have, did you use good craftsmanship? Did you use your time effectively? Did you put effort into it? And did you show care for it? And also just the general elements and principles. Did you make it look good? Yeah. So that is it. That's done for this week. That's the slides. Let me know if you have questions. Get to work on the sketch. Turn that sketch in by Thursday at midnight, and then get started. The final project is due next Thursday. Also, I need to let you know there will be a quiz posted probably on Monday of next week. A quiz. And I'm going to give you the whole week to do it. It'll be online. It'll be open notes. It'll just be going over the few terms we've had so far. It's like a little midterm quiz. I figured a couple short online quizzes was better than giving you some big ongoing project like I kind of had planned. This is a little easier. You can knock it out before spring break. Gives you a little midterm grade. And make sure that you kind of reflect on the important things that we've learned so far. That'll probably be posted Monday and due on like Friday at midnight before you go to spring break next week. So it's only really, we're almost done with this week, and then next week's the week before spring break. Crazy town. Anyway, I will post this, and like I said, I'll look for any emails, any questions from you. Other than that, have a good time. Get your sketch done. Get started on the final. Boom.